What's up YouTube? ODST General back again. And today guys, I want to break from my usual format. Today I wanted to talk about something I was shocked to find was not here on YouTube. That is making Halo 3 ODST one of the best Halo narratives in the franchise. I would also like to especially thank Gamer152 who posted an article or a thread allowing me to get refreshed on this subject. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay guys, as you've probably figured out by now based off the title, the subject I was referring to is how ODST, at its core, is inspired by the Divine Comedy, and more specifically, Dante's Inferno. Before we get started, I want to give a bit of backstory here. Halo 3 ODST was released in 2009 as part of an agreement between Bungie and Microsoft. Bungie would make 2 more Halo titles, and Microsoft would release them from their contract so that they could go work on other projects. Projects we don't speak of. ODST was the first of those 2 titles, and is somewhat controversial to many fans due to its shorter campaign mode and lack of its own multiplayer, while still charging full price for the title. I could continue on, but let's not get sidetracked. On the other side of the story is the Divine Comedy. Written over a 12-year span from 1308 to 1320, this long-format poem follows the journey of its main character Dante through Hell, Purgatory, and Heaven, each of which was split into its own part. We will mainly be focusing on Dante's Inferno, his travel through Hell. While the theme of Dante's Inferno is woven into most aspects of ODST, it is the strongest in Sadies Story, which is where we will start. Sadies Story is an animated side story, which you can discover while playing through the open-world portions of the campaign. Sadie was the daughter of Daniel and Desha, who was in charge of maintaining New Mombasa's AI, the Superintendent. Sadie's story begins with our protagonist, Sadie, attempting to leave the city to enlist with the UNSC. This is when we get our first references to Dante's Inferno right off the bat. As Sadie purchases her train ticket, she comments, "Magongo, if I don't get caught. Hell if I do." She proceeds to board the train soon after. However, shortly after getting underway, a subroutine of the Superintendent written by her father stops the train, and she strays from her original path. This is similar to the start of Dante's Inferno, in which Dante has strayed from his path in the dark woods. Dante eventually meets Virgil, who will act as his guide for the remainder of the story, much as he does for both Sadie and the rookie. This part of the story also represents the first circle of Hell, as the train is stuck in limbo on the outskirts of the city. Soon after, Virgil guides Sadie off the train and closes the doors behind her, sending the train to its original destination without her. I cannot help but think of the train as the gate to Hell. Sadie tells Virgil to go to Hell as the Covenant carrier slips spaces into the city. Sadie then comments that Hell just came here. One thing Gamer missed in his post was the moment between those comments. As Dante enters the gate of Hell, he hears the screams of the uncommitted, those who took no sides in life. Not good, not evil. In Halo, this translates to the civilians of the city, who live their lives normally, ignoring the war against the Covenant. We hear their tormented screams of horror as the Covenant enter the city. As Sadie's story continues, she contacts her father. He reveals he is in Virgil's data center, which is 9 levels underground. In Dante's Inferno, Hell is described as being 9 descending circles. Sadie's story is also broken up into 9 parts. The main story also contains 10 levels. However, the first level, Prepare to Drop, is not really a playable level, and can be considered the rookie entering into Hell. As we enter the second arc of Sadie's story, she is rescued by the city's police commissioner. The second arc represents the second circle of Hell, Lust. The police commissioner makes several suggestive comments to Sadie. As she tries to fight back, Kinsler says to Sadie that no one will care about one lost soul, as if he is about to force himself on her when his officer pulls him out of the car and knocks him out. It is not long after, and Sadie is soon on her own again and entering into the third circle, Gluttony. Sadie witnesses Jonas, an 800-pound butcher who is giving out kebabs and blocking others from escaping the city. Due to his size, he is unable to escape the city himself. Continuing into the fourth circle of hell, or the fourth arc, we overhear the screaming of civilians as Covenant and Marines fight nearby. One person yells they have lost their bag, that it has their whole life in there. Looters are attempting to steal money. Sadie uses an ATM to contact her father, but soon finds herself at gunpoint by an old woman. The fourth circle is the circle of greed. The old woman, previously having held Sadie at gunpoint, now starts attacking the ATM, saying she has spent the last 40 years losing her money at the nearby casino. A Covenant dropship approaches, and the woman is ignoring it. She is trying to continue getting money coming from the ATM. A brute approaches, pulls the ATM from the wall, and smashes the old woman with it. Sadie is soon approached by the very same brutes. She is rescued once more by the cop from earlier, Mike. We are now entering into the fifth circle of hell. Sadie and Mike have to cross the bridge to get into the city of New Mombasa. This represents the crossing of the river Styx by Dante in the Inferno. The fifth circle represents wrath, or anger as some might know it. Police Commissioner Kinsler returns once again in a pelican. Rather than escape the city or try to save people, he lets his anger get the best of him. He tracks down Sadie and Mike, and as he prepares to kill Mike, Virgil takes control of an Oliphant and hits the pelican the commissioner was in, knocking him onto the bridge. The Oliphant is then used as a transport to let them cross the bridge, much like the skiff used to cross the river Styx. As our protagonists soon enter into the sixth circle, Heresy, their Oliphant is soon boarded by a man named Tom Uberti. And Tom's name, forgive me for the inevitable slaughter of it, is a reference to Farinata degli Uberti, who Dante met in his travels in the sixth circle of hell as well. At this point in the story, we are soon introduced to the Covenant engineer Virgil. He is surrounded by other Covenant engineers. They are all encased in explosive harnesses. This represents the Tomb of Fire, which encased the heretics in the Inferno. The engineers are performing heresy by betraying the Covenant when they freed Virgil. Their harnesses explode as a result. Soon, Tom starts calling out to the Covenant to try and negotiate peace, giving away their position inside the Oliphant. He is killed by a Wraith tank, making the Oliphant his own firing tomb. His heresy was of course his betrayal of the protagonists, giving away their position and destroying their safety in the Oliphant. As they continue on their journey, Sadie and Mike encounter Marshall in the seventh circle of hell, or the seventh arc, which represents violence. He has just killed several officers. He says he did it because they were all going to hell today anyways. Soon SWAT arrives and a gunfight ensues, killing Marshall. Sadie comments they are too busy killing each other. Perhaps worth of note, Mike tells a lie when speaking with the SWAT team following the gunfight in the lobby. He tells them he is a cop, even though he was fired earlier. This seems like a minor thing, but it kicks off the eighth arc. Reaching the eighth circle, the circle of fraud, Sadie and Mike are attempting to get the superintendent turned back on. They encounter a NMPD officer speaking with Captain Dare. The first act of fraud comes when she tells Dare they have a sniper in their lobby, indicating it was a Covenant that killed the other officers. In another act of fraud, Sadie uses a stapler to get the officer to turn the superintendent back on. She tells the officer it's a gun. Despite the officer knowing this is a lie, she too goes along with it, perpetuating the lie. As our protagonists navigate the building they are in, they soon hear a propaganda officer we have heard a few times at this point in the story. Realizing he is in the very building they are in, our heroes track him down as he speaks about how they are pushing the Covenant back. They enter his office as he is spreading the lie about the Covenant sniper nest in their lobby. He says Marshall was one of the victims. He also says it was a citizen militia which killed the Covenant. Mike is angry, but when put on the spot, he too lies to the citizens, telling them things are tough, but they are fighting back nonetheless. The final arc of Sadie's story, the ninth arc. When Kinsler threatened to kill Sadie's father, our heroes find themselves in the equivalent of the ninth circle of hell, the circle of treachery. It is where Satan resides. Satan is considered the ultimate traitor. He is represented by Kinsler, if there was any doubt about that at this point. As we meet with him once more, his corrupt officers are stopping citizens from escaping the city so that Kinsler himself can leave on the train. This is a severe betrayal of their duties, betraying those they are sworn to protect. Sadie reluctantly agrees to meet with Kinsler to save her father. However, Kinsler reveals he already killed her father with the fire suppression system an hour before. Another act of treachery. Kinsler soon tells the driver of the train to leave, leaving the officers outside to their deaths. Yet another betrayal. Our protagonists are ultimately saved, and Kinsler, damned for his treachery, killed by the very crowds he tried to betray himself. In going through the ninth circle, our heroes are able to exit hell. It is interesting to note that the ninth circle is described as a frozen lake. This is represented when Sadie's father is killed by the fire suppression system, which freezes the superintendent's data core. With Sadie's story concluded, the events of the main game begin. Perhaps it was the ODST's nickname, Helljumpers, or their motto, Feet First into Hell, that inspired the connection to Dante's Inferno. Much like Sadie and Dante before him, the rookie finds himself straying from his path. Originally destined for the Covenant carrier, they are instead redirected to the city of New Mombasa. Gamer says this is because of the slip space jump. This is actually somewhat inaccurate. While their path is changed because of the jump, their path was changed before then, as Dare sent them on a secret mission to recover Virgil. The slip space jump is just a coincidence. So like Sadie, Virgil once again guides our hero from their path. As I also mentioned previously, ODST contains 10 levels, the first of which is Prepare to Drop, which acts as our characters entering into limbo, leaving 9 levels left for our players to play through. However, for the rest of the campaign, the references and influences of Inferno become fairly thin relative to Sadie's story. From this point, the references become far and few between. There's graffiti that refers to the city as Hell on Earth. However, the only other references come later as you play through the data center. Entering into the 9th level, you actually play through the frozen section representing the frozen lake from Sadie's story. The area is also designed in a somewhat circular descending pattern, although it is varied enough that it is a hard comparison to push, although it is there. It should be noted, however, that the data center actually has 10 sublevels, not 9. However, the 10th level is suspended over an actual lake. The data center doesn't really have any direct correlation to the levels of Dante's Inferno. However, Gamer believes that the 10 levels could be based off of Mount Purgatory from the second part of the Divine Comedy. His belief is that the levels leading up to this could have represented the Inferno. While this is possible, I find myself having to disagree with Gamer's interpretation of the data center. You descend into the area rather than ascend up it as you would Mount Purgatory. Furthermore, the data center itself contains the reference to the frozen lake on the 9th sublevel. So it seems unlikely that the data center is a reference to Purgatory, as it includes references to Hell. We get our last clear reference in the form of Virgil, the engineer, who resists being rescued by both Sadie and the ODST team. In the Divine Comedy, Virgil could not ascend to heaven because of his life as a pagan. When it came time for Dante to enter heaven, Virgil had to stay behind because of this. Ultimately, the stories somewhat diverge at this point, as Virgil, the engineer, is rescued by the ODSTs despite his resistance. Unfortunately, the Virgil of Dante's Inferno did not have the same fate. Well, I've caught most of the obvious references. One person I had a hard time placing was Mike in Sadie's story. While not every character had a parallel, I feel as Mike may have. Gamer believed him to act in the role of Virgil at one point, perhaps being a physical proxy for Virgil. It is also possible Mike represented Beatrice, whom inspired several of the poet Dante's previous works in real life. Beatrice replaced Virgil as Dante's guide near the end of Purgatory's story arc. As a small, unrelated bonus, in the novel Ghosts of Onyx, we near the core of the planet. Franklin Mendez comments that 13 ascending Forerunner rings reminds him of Dante's Inferno. Catherine Halsey points out that those were descending and was about to correct him before being cut off, possibly referring to the 13 ascending Forerunner rings in the same light as Mount Purgatory. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I would like to thank Gamer once more, as well as all of the other various articles that I used for references ranging from Wikipedia to stuff I've seen years and years ago. I appreciate all this stuff as it allowed me to get brushed up on this subject, as well as the art for the video. Once again, thank you all. As always, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share with your friends. Also, leave your thoughts on this video below and let me know if you think I missed something. See you guys in the next video.